I think people really got to know how passionate Bryan is about this topic, and he can speak to it like nobody else can. Well, I definitely can because apparently I'm just Canadian. So I'm just joking if you saw early on what that meant, if it's an inside joke. Anyways, okay. So Puerto Rican boxing, at one point, like the last biggest superstar that I remember is one of my favorite boxers, Miguel Cotto. He was the face, by the way. Listen, I think he's the only guy that really took it to Mayweather. Just want to throw that in there. But ever since then, there's been like a void of who this next Puerto Rican boxing superstar is going to be. And Edgar Berlanga came on this 16 KO streak, and everyone's like, he's that guy. But there's someone in the background named Xander Zayas who I thought he had a good performance in his last fight. People were, giving him some heat. And there's also someone who I think has transcended just being a Puerto Rican boxing superstar, and that is Amanda Serrano. But Bryan, let's talk about it because I think you can touch on this a little bit more with more passion. Is Edgar Berlanga the next face of Puerto Rican boxing? Or is he the superstar that we've all kind of pegged him out to be? Or is it Xander? Or is it still Serrano's? Or is it someone else?
So if we're talking about the future of Puerto Rican boxing, here's where we go, right? And any Puerto Ricans or anybody watching at all, feel free to drop in your thoughts as I go through this because it's going to be a little bit. We currently have 4 champions, right? There's Jonathan Gonzalez, WBO junior flyweight champion, Subriel Matias, who's returning August 26th. He deserves to be mentioned in this conversation against Sergey Lipinets, which is a very interesting fight. Amanda Serrano, as you mentioned. Amanda Serrano kind of answers the question, who's going to step up after Miguel Cotto, because for a while, it looks like it was going to be Felix redacted, now in prison. Jose Pedraza, was there a chance at that? Christopher Diaz, was there a chance at that? Alberto Machado, maybe. It was Amanda Serrano, and it's been Amanda Serrano pretty much since Miguel Cotto walked out the door in late 2017. And then Oscar Collazo is also a minimum weight champion right now, who's undefeated, who is worth keeping an eye on, won his title in the spring. There's the next category, which are like the next Puerto Rican champions. Manny Rodriguez, I think when he gets the IBF title shot against Melvin Lopez, is expected to be, because they're the top 2 contenders for the vacant IBF title that Naoya Inoue is leaving behind. I think he's going to be a champion because I think he wins that fight. Then you have Shakur Stevenson, who, look, Afro-Latino, right? Like, if we want to play that game, he's Black and Puerto Rican. He turns 26 tomorrow. He's still young, and he's embracing it more, embracing his culture more, right? Or at least his father's side of the family culture more, right? And then there's the other category. This is where I put Edgar Berlanga and Xander Zayas, getting there, but still kind of need to see more, right? Still need to see it. It's Edgar Berlanga. It's Xander Zayas. Quickly on Xander Zayas. He's starting to get more criticism now because he didn't put away his last couple opponents. I will remind people he is 20 years old. He is 16-0 with 10 knockouts. He is 20 years old. And he is also number 4 ranked contender by the WBO, which is worth mentioning because, if you're with Top Rank, you're probably going to get a WBO title shot if you're good enough.
It's true.
Right now that title is being held by Jermell Charlo, and Tim Zhu is the interim champion. So could Xander Zayas beat Tim Zhu? Probably not right now, I don't think. I think in a year or two, but I think right now it'd be tough. Although if you take it out of Australia, maybe. And then Nestor Bravo is somebody to watch in this sort of category. So Nestor Bravo, for people who don't know, 21-0, 15 knockouts, ranked number 7 by the WBA and the WBO, and is a super lightweight WBO NABO champion. He's fighting in August. And the reason why I mentioned him, Jake Paul is promoting his card next April 18th. It's one of those most valuable prospect cards in Orlando. And he's going to be fighting on DAZN, Nestor Bravo, who's got some pop. And so far, and that's really, after that, there's like the last category of like the early ones to watch. We could get to that in a second. But in terms of the names I'm throwing at you, I think the main ones to really answer this question in terms of if I'm making a Puerto Rican boxing hierarchy, Amanda Serrano is the face and has been the face. And then after that, it's like, is Edgar Berlanga, Xander Zayas, or Subriel Matias, who's already a champion, going to sort of become, entering that conversation with full force? Subriel Matias is starting to get the recognition he deserves, but he's not there yet. And he deserves a lot more recognition because he's a monster. If he beats Sergey Lipinets in spectacular fashion in August, people are going to start talking about him more. I will remind people that he's also in his early 30s. So if this is a young person's conversation, you're looking at Xander Zayas, Edgar Berlanga mostly.
Yeah, and Joseph said Matthias is a beast. We got some more comments here, and because you are the fellow Puerto Rican, Brian, I'm gonna let you take this one because this one's interesting. I want to get your thoughts.
So John Paul Rivera is interesting, right? Because I have this last category. I might as well do this now, Pitbull, and thank you for the comment. Early potential / ones to watch. The first name I have here is John Paul Rivera Pizarro, who's a featherweight, who's very talented, who's only 6-0. So we'll see how he goes as he ascends and faces better competition. I'll throw a few other names out there. Yanquiel Rivera, who won on the Edgar Berlanga card. Listen, Matchroom is pushing the shit out of this dude because he's only 4-0 and he's never fought a 4-round fight. He's already fighting 8-rounders. I think he's going to be one of these dudes that he may fight for a title before he's 10-0 because of the way they're pushing him. And also watch Edwin Valentin, one of Miguel Cotto's guys. He's I believe a lightweight, 12-0, 11 knockouts.
There is a lot of hype on him, actually.
Yeah.
A lot of hype on him. And I mean, you got that backing of Miguel Cotto. That changes a little things as well. I want to put this one up on the screen.
23 years old, by the way. And then I have a couple more after this. Jesus,
Diego Pacheco destroys Berlanga. I want to see more from
Diego.
Yeah. I like Diego a lot. Also, he's a Cali kid, so I got to. But I mean, I think that's a really good fight. I don't think it happens anytime soon. I want to see a lot more from Diego, but I think he's going to be a problem. And I think he is a possible guy that we're going to be talking about a lot in the future. Lots of potential for Diego Pacheco. You mentioned some really good names. And I think when we talk about the younger part of this conversation,
which I have two more. But yes.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
So last two, because I could do this all day. But other ones, you've heard me talk about Najee Lopez before.
Yeah.
I don't know if I did it on the show, but Najee Lopez, he's fighting on the Pro Box TV cards in Florida. He's 6-0 with 5 knockouts, light heavyweight prospect. I think he could be a star. He's fighting again in July. We'll see how he does as he fights future, better competition. And then Stephanie Pinheiro, who right now, she's in her early 30s, but is an ascending welterweight, competing at the Central American and Caribbean Games 4-0 with 2 knockouts, and has gotten some good wins. And listen, not long off for a welterweight title, the way like that division is. And I think Jessica McCaskill is probably the best fighter in that division right now.
Yes.
Stephanie Pinheiro is 5'9", big shoulders, southpaw. She's tough. If you watch her fight, she's fucking tough.
I think you've listed a bunch of names that obviously have potential, but I think the ones that have star power are the ones that are most changing, right? Because you got to have that star power, and that would probably land with Edgar Berlanga and Xander Zayas. Because
Subriel also, but like there's
Subriel, but he's underrated. He's the boogeyman, right? And it's like, when is he going to fight someone with a name?
There's a language barrier there too that people are going to be like, oh, he doesn't really speak English, whatever, So,
and you know what? I don't even think it's necessarily that as well, because there are boxers that don't speak very good English or the best English. Like English is the toughest speaking language. If you can speak more than one language, I give you mad props, because that is hard. Okay, I only got one. But
I got one in like a third. Spanish is rough, but like
what? I can understand a couple of other languages. You know what I mean? Okay. Anyways, that's not the point. The point here is that I was going to make is I think, yes, Amanda Serrano is the face of Puerto Rican boxing as of right now, and she has been. However, I think she's bigger than just that. I think she is a face of boxing, and arguably, I mean, Clarissa Shields, Amanda Serrano, Alicia Baumgartner are the faces of women's boxing, I would say. But I think Amanda Serrano, when we talk about popularity and you talk about women's boxing and how it's transcended over the last few years, like she's bigger than just being this Puerto Rican boxing superstar. The weight of Amanda Serrano's name, I think, especially just in boxing, period, it's huge. Like, she deserves her props. So I don't want to just put her in that small box.
And I don't think it's a small box, though. That's the point I want to make. It's like, no, because it's like if Felix Trinidad was one of the faces of the welterweight division when he was, Felix Trinidad, right? Yeah. So he was the face of Puerto Rican boxing, but he was also pound for pound one of the best 5'10" fighters in the world at his peak. Same thing with Miguel Cotto. Yeah. And I think Amanda Serrano right now, in terms of name recognition and things of that nature, she's one of the more known boxers in the world. I think
that's why I'm saying it's bigger than just that.
No, but I think it can be both. I think you could be the face of your country.
Yeah.
And I think you could also just be one of the best boxers in the world. I don't think it has to be an either or thing.
Well,
You know, I
I
don't like you trying to divide my people like this.
no, I'm not trying to divide the people. You're such a hater. What I'm trying to say is that I think we need to give her more props than just being this Puerto Rican superstar, right?
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
she's way more than that. And I think she's also a figure in the sport that is so meaningful to like young girls out there.
Yeah.
Right, even young girls in Puerto Rico. Like, let's just be serious here. So I just think the value of Amanda Serrano's name, we need to put more respect on her name. But the conversation itself is who's up next, right? Because Amanda
She's in
Serrano's
her
been
mid
doing it
30s.
exactly, but she's been doing this for a minute. But she's just really gotten this fame. Like when you talk to casual fans, like some of my friends don't even watch boxing. They know Amanda Serrano. They know her name, and that's why I'm saying it holds a lot more weight and it's really meaningful to the sport. Now, when you take a look at Edgar Berlanga and Xander Zayas, this is the one thing that I want to mention. Edgar Berlanga, whether you like him or not, he has star power. Like he checks off everything off a list to be a superstar.
As long as he keeps winning.
Yes, and you might not like the way that he's winning, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, going back to that Quigley fight, I do want to mention he was coming off like a year being out of the ring. He didn't get the knockout, but he got knockdowns against a guy that you weren't just going to get up and out of there. This was his toughest fight. And I want to see what he does next. Hopefully he gets better defensively. Hopefully he goes to the body. But I do think everything else, Xander Zayas checks off the list. But I don't think he transcends like an Amanda Serrano or Miguel Cotto or Felix Trinidad. But you know who I think can? Xander Zayas. I think he can be the face of Puerto Rican boxing. And I said this last time on the show when we had our live after Teofimo Lopez and Josh Taylor. I think Xander Zayas can also be a face of boxing because he's a likable guy. I think a lot of people want to see him fight. And also, like, there's not that language barrier, right? He also speaks very good English as well. And I think people like him. Like, people just like him as a person. And I think he can be a face of boxing, especially if he continues to win like this.
So remember last year, to put a ball in this conversation, remember last year when we were talking, we had this conversation before, just like a lot of the conversations we have on here, we've already had. But so we've had this conversation before, even last year, before Xander Zayas was what he is now, as he's still developing. And you watch Edgar Berlanga and you watch Xander Zayas. Yeah, Xander Zayas has room to be the bigger star, is probably all around better. Oh, by the way, he's also 6 years younger. So if this is a future conversation, yeah, you're going to lean towards Xander Zayas because he has shown less warts through this point of his career and more things that are correctable because, again, he is 6 years younger. Edgar is entering his prime now in terms of just age, and he's getting to the point where, like, let's say he fights Jaime Munguia next, the title shot is coming regardless. Like for Edgar, it's going to happen as long as he keeps winning, probably in 1 or 2 more fights. So you're going to have to see it now. And at this point, these adjustments or whatever, like there's more pressure on him. Whereas Xander Zayas, I think you're looking at maybe a 2 to 3 year period before you're talking about him getting a title shot if he continues to fight 2-3 times a year, maybe even 1 year he fights 4 times. So that doesn't really happen as much anymore. This gets to this comment from Tyrone who says, I haven't paid attention to Xander yet. Start. Start. He's good. There's going to be a lot of people who saying like, oh, he should have got the knockout his last fight, whatever. Like the thing with Xander, at least, and this is something you can't say about Edgar, is he's winning every round, basically. Xander's winning basically every round he fights. So there's that.
I am PK13. Berlanga may never win a major alphabet title. Xander Zayas is the future. Serrano is older and up against a bit of a glass ceiling being a female fighter. But you know what? I think women's boxing is at the best place it's ever been. It's only going to grow from here. People are checking for these fights. And so I think the ceiling has gone up, to be honest with you. Yeah. Like even Alicia Baumgartner getting all that TV shine, people were going crazy. Like they love her. I think women's boxing is in a really good place. But I do agree Xander Zayas is the future. By the way, if you left a message, if you left a comment, if you hit that like and subscribe button, thank you so much. If you haven't already been following us on our social media channels, please do. It's at TheMandatory TKO. We're on IG, TikTok, Twitter, all of that. So we really do appreciate you rocking with us. Final thoughts, Bryan, before we get up and out of here.
And if you have any comments on the way out the door, please leave them so we can read them before we wrap this up. But yeah, I think to answer the question, Amanda Serrano's the face of Puerto Rican boxing while also being one of the most famous boxers in the
Yeah.
world. So we both win that little debate, if you want to even call it a debate. And I think Xander Zayas and Edgar Berlanga, like that's kind of where the future is next, along with Subriel Matias and what he's going to do. Subriel is somebody we should probably talk about a little bit more, but he's got a fight against Sergey Lipinets coming on.
I think that's a
Uh,
tough fight. Lipinets like can't be taken seriously. He doesn't get taken seriously, but he should, is
yeah,
what I'm trying to say. Like that's not going to be an easy fight. And I think Subriel's my favorite. Like he doesn't have the same
Mm,
type of cachet as a Xander Zayas or a Berlanga, but Subriel's my favorite.
that
Like
dude.
he's my favorite to watch. Like when he's fighting, we always talk about is it like fight watch party worthy, and like he is. I think
No, I want
he's
to.
a guy.
We're doing a live for that.
Yeah,
We're doing a live for that. Unless look, if they bring it to the Barclays Center, I'm trying to get there.
yeah. Tyrone the Great, Subriel is a beast. This
Surreal
guy,
is. I would say this of all the, excluding Amanda Serrano, of all the dudes we're talking about, he's the best one I think out of all these guys right now. I think he's the best Puerto Rican boxer in the world right now. Subriel Matias, probably.
if I'm being honest, and this is like, I think he can beat anyone at 140.
I do too.
I just, I like Teofimo
Like-
Lopez. Regis Prograis is one of my favorite boxers, but I think Subriel can beat anyone in that division, and that's
Yeah.
wild. So
Here's-
that's why it's like, I think he's so underrated, so fun to watch. If you haven't seen Subriel Matias watch, you're missing out. Go check out his highlights. But he's the guy that should have the bigger name, and he doesn't, and he's the most exciting. Like he's the one living up to the hype, man. Even when he's having like a bad round, you're like, whoa, he's getting punched in the face. Like,
Yo,
is he gonna lose? He just comes
That's what
back.
I was gonna say.
Like he just
The
comes
fight-
back and like knocks someone out, and you're like, whoa! Like he can
Yo.
he can throw a punch and he can take punches too. Like he's so fun to watch.
Which you could only do for so long, so he better cut that shit out. But look, which he did against Jeremias Ponce earlier this year. But me and my dad watched the fight together. And because
You gotta
Puerto
answer
Rican
this.
fighters, whatever.
You gotta answer this.
Joseph, I'm gonna get to you in a second. I'm gonna get leave the comment up. I'm gonna get to you in a second. But Subriel, right? He I'm like, Dad, yo, you gotta watch this dude. You gotta watch this dude, right? So we watched the fight, and he's like, yo, why is he getting his ass kicked in round one? Like, what the fuck? Because he's just getting rocked. And I'm like, oh, this is not good. What the hell's going on? And then it's like it didn't matter. It's like when they used to fucking punch Hulk Hogan in the face before he would get on the ropes and Hulk up or whatever, except it had a lot less character to it, but regardless. And Subriel just came out round 2, round 3, round 4, just broke him down, just accurate as hell. That's the other thing. His precision is nuts, right?
Yeah.
And then
there's that speed too. Like he does have speed, man. Like,
then he finishes it in round 5, and it's like, dude, like if Regis is fighting like that against Danielito Zorrilla, and if Teofimo Lopez, who I'm gonna get to in a second, Joseph, is retired, quote unquote, yeah, I mean,
I hope not.
and I think even not, like, look, Subriel will give anybody problems at 140. Anybody.